गुफ्तगू कर लें, कुछ मुद्दों को सुलझा लें, कुछ थोड़ा HIV पे बात कर लें। Dr. Archana Pathak, please take over. Dr. Archana Pathak.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you. Good afternoon, friends and colleagues and my senior. I welcome you all in the second webinar series under our HIV committee of Delhi Gynae Forum. It is indeed the need of the hour to update ourselves with the latest knowledge to diagnose, manage, and treat HIV mothers and patients in our endeavor to have a safe labor, an excellent teacher, and we are privileged to have her as our dynamic secretary of the General Secretary of the Delhi Gynae Forum. Her zeal and passion for academics, alongside all these various singing activities and other cultural activities, is what sets her apart from other people. So I request Shadi ma'am to please say a few words.
Me, as the chairman of the HIV committee of Delhi Gynaecologist Forum, which is a very temporary thing for me before anybody else takes over. I want everybody to mute yourself, please. Now, as far as the standard treatment guidelines are concerned,
muted हो मैं muted हो muted है अनु mute करो muted नहीं है देखो muted अच्छा इधर okay हाँ करते
the standard treatment guidelines have become a very powerful tool which the doctors require to practice ethically and evidence-based. Because we all know that the doctors cannot update the way the medical science is rapidly growing. And that is why there is a gap between the best practices and the actual practice. And this gap is not small. This gap is a huge gap. That is why from the time to time guidelines, we doctors need to get ourselves updated. And my request to all gynecologists, not to prescribe anything which does not come in the guidelines. My request to you all. And as far as the national medical guidelines are concerned, they are there for a couple of common conditions: tuberculosis, HIV, malaria, dengue, urinary tract infection, hypertension, diabetes, stroke, acute and chronic renal diseases. We need to write the same. What I'm writing, Dr. Ruby should write the same, Dr. Jyoti Agarwal should write the same, Dr. Chitra Agarwal should write the same. But that's not the practice. The people who are watching me, I'm just trying to say in heart, you put your hand on your heart. And if I tell you I am 65 kg, I've been diagnosed as tuberculosis, write the treatment for me. 99% people will not be able to write. They can write AK-84, but they will not be able to write the exact medication. And that is why HIV तो बहुत दूर की बात हो गई. हमारी एक क्लास हो चुकी है ऑलरेडी. फिर भी हमारे को डॉक्टर शारदा जैन को ही पूछ लो ना कि 3 ड्रग रेजिम क्या है, नहीं बता सकती जब तक कि बार बार नहीं पढ़ेंगे. बिकॉज HIV कितने साल में 2 देख लेते, 1 देख लेते, इससे ज्यादा तो देखते नहीं. So please do not hesitate. I feel this gap has to be bridged. And we have to tell to ourselves कि इस साल मुझे HIV का ट्रीटमेंट सीखना है, मुझे ट्यूबरक्लोसिस का ट्रीटमेंट सीखना है, मुझे मलेरिया का ट्रीटमेंट सीखना है, मुझे डेंगू का ट्रीटमेंट सीखना है, और मुझको रात को सोते भी कोई हिलाए ना, तो आई शुड बी एबल टू पुट इट आउट. द सेकंड बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम वी हैव, जब हम क्वालिफाइड हो जाते हैं, सुपर क्वालिफाइड हो जाते हैं, तो हम सोचते हैं हमें सब आता है. आई एम ए teacher for last 50 years, and before, in the last 10-12 years, I have developed a special passion to teach people. I teach infertility and IVF. I teach colposcopy, and I find there is a syndrome called no-no syndrome. I know everything. मुझसे HIV भी पूछो ना, तो HIV की फुल फॉर्म है वो भी नहीं बता सकेंगे. But they say, I know. So the problem is not lack of knowledge. The problem with us is we are too obsessed that we know everything. So with these, I think, it's a good thing that we have started. We have started this. We have started a very specific, dedicated thing on the medical legal issues related to gynecology. And I think, these couple of things, once in a month activity is going to do us good. It is going to do a recreation. We were wondering about kaun HIV sunne aayega. So that's why we did a start like this, that we have a musical start to it. So the people get hooked to it. Once they enjoy themselves, at least they spend some dedicated time for this particular thing. So I think over to you, and this is what I have to say as a Secretary General of Delhi Gynecologist Forum, that our knowledge, our passion to grab knowledge should not die. Every day I must learn something, as every day I must share something. जो मुझे आता है उसको मुझे share भी करना सीखना है. And that's what it is. We are all here to give and give. Over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Your passion and zeal really motivates all of us. And now I invite Dr. Jyoti Agarwal, who is a Hardonian, a senior consultant and director of Life Care Center and IVF Center. She is the president of Delhi Gynae Forum East. And I invite her to do a quick recap of the webinar we had on 10th of September.
Sure, Dr. Archana. Thank you so much. A very good afternoon to all of you. In the first webinar, Dr. Ruby beautifully taught us how to manage an HIV positive pregnancy. For the benefit of the viewers, I am going to just give you a short recap in a very simple language. We all know HIV is a global problem, and India has the second highest number of HIV infected patients, just next to Africa. And the problem is more so in down south India as compared to North India. But anyway, we need to manage it. And out of all these infected persons, 40 to 50% of them are women. And amongst these women, almost 80% are in the reproductive age group, and hence the need to manage HIV pregnancy. All gynecologists and obstetricians should know in consultation with an HIV expert. That is why we are going through the summary so that those who have missed it out can learn it again and again, and Dr. Ruby is always available. Whenever a patient comes to the antenatal clinic, it is mandatory to do an HIV testing for the couple, because earlier we know the status of the HIV for the female, earlier we can start the treatment, and sooner we start the treatment, less chances of vertical transmission occurs to the baby. And second most important thing is, suppose the patient is already HIV positive and now she becomes pregnant and she comes to your clinic. Most important is to reassure her that it is not an indication for medical termination of pregnancy. She should have that confidence and that faith that the doctor will carry my pregnancy forward, and aim is to deliver a healthy and a HIV negative baby. So she continues with the same medication which she was taking in the non-pregnant state. We need to spend a lot of time in counseling. Sometimes this counseling may take even half an hour to 1 hour. because we need to gain that confidence कि डॉक्टर मुझे इधर उधर शंट नहीं करेगा, डॉक्टर मुझे इधर उधर भटकाएगा नहीं. We should know the basic, but definitely we need to take help of an HIV expert. But unfortunately, we don't have many HIV experts, so we ourselves have to learn what is to be given and what is the best and how frequently the test should be given. We should also counsel and tell them that HIV disease itself is not teratogenic. The drugs, they do belong to category B and C, but the benefits definitely outweigh the risk as far as the vertical transmission from the mother to the baby is concerned. So if the mother is very religious and she's sincerely taking the antiretroviral therapy, the chances that her baby will be positive is almost 0 to 1%, which is almost negligible. So we have to instill in her and make sure on every visit, on every antenatal visit, that is she taking the medicine regularly. And not only this kind of care and support should be given to the patient, it should always be extended to other family members also, so that she feels that she is not different from any other antenatal patient. She should not be discriminated in the OPD that she is HIV positive and the other patients are negative. So if a patient of HIV positive becomes pregnant, she continues with the same medication. We don't use the drug zidovudine anymore. We have better drugs these days, and a combination drug is used which consists of tenofovir, lamivudine, and ifervinax. And we need to continue to see the side effects. We need to monitor her hemoglobin, by a CBC count. We need to monitor her SGOT-PT and a serum creatinine. CD4 count and the viral copies need to be monitored depending upon what is her status to start with. Suppose she's taking, she's totally adherent to the medication, then as the viral load keeps on decreasing, we can decrease the frequency of doing these tests, because these tests are expensive, and then we can gradually, once in every trimester should be sufficient. But if the load becomes almost negligible or less than 50 copies, then we can stop doing it. Suppose the patient, this is one category. She was already HIV positive and now she becomes pregnant. So I repeat, she continues antiretroviral therapy. It is the duty of all the gynecologists to reinforce her that not even a single day she should miss the medicine. Kuch ho jaye, bhukamp aa jaye, tufan aa jaye, she has to take the medicines. And the second group is she has been diagnosed as HIV positive for the first time when she comes to your clinic. Now again, we use these three drugs, same, I repeat, tenofovir, lamivudine, and ifervinax. And she should consult the HIV expert as soon as possible and continue same. Now there is one more category, the third category of patients who were HIV positive, and they took antiretroviral therapy very religiously during her first pregnancy. Postpartum, for last 2-3 years, she stopped it for her own reasons. And now she has become pregnant for the second time. What to do for these kind of patients? In these patients, instead of the first line treatment, we need to give a second line treatment. What I mean by saying this is, instead of 3 drugs, now she needs 4 drugs. Tenofovir and lamivudine remains the same, but instead of ifervinax, she needs to take lopinavir and rotenavir. We don't need to remember so many things. HIV expert is always there. But yes, हमें थोड़ा basic तो जरूर पता होना चाहिए, because the patient belongs to us. She has lot of faith in the gynecologist. She knows the gynecologist will do the best for me. HIV, वो तो हम जहाँ उसको भेजेंगे वहाँ वो patient जाएगी. But we should know what is being done for her. If she is very religiously and sincerely taking medicine, antenatal period बड़े आराम से निकल जाएगा like any other HIV negative antenatal patients. Now coming to the intrapartum period, which is most important, because maximum vertical transmission from mother to baby occurs during intrapartum period, and hence as a gynecologist it's our duty to follow the universal precautions during the intrapartum period. We should avoid any kind of invasive procedure during labor. Like we should try to avoid rupture of membranes. And in case there is already a spontaneous rupture of membranes, from the rupture of membranes till the time of delivery, that this time interval should not exceed more than 4 hours so as to reduce the risk of vertical transmission. That means we need to augment the labor with the help of oxytocins. We should avoid any other kind of invasive procedure in the form of forceps or ventouse delivery. Fetal scalp monitoring we don't do these days because of good CTG machines. And it is also advocated in the guidelines that one should try to avoid episiotomy as far as possible, and instead a good perineal support should be given. Heavy cord clamping should be done in these patients, and baby should be handled with all precautions, wearing gloves until all the maternal secretions and the blood is washed off. Here it is also important to note that HIV disease itself is not an indication for cesarean section, provided she is taking antiretroviral therapy every day without fail and her viral load is less than 50 copies per ml. But if it is not so, that means if it is she is not taking the medicines regularly, she is non-compliant, then an elective cesarean section should be done at 38 weeks or for any other obstetric reasons so as to prevent the vertical transmission. Because this is the time, if no precautions are taken, the chances of baby becoming HIV positive is almost as high as 30 to 35%. But if we follow all these precautions, the same incidence can be reduced to just 0 to 1%, which is highly, highly significant. And once she has delivered, now comes the postpartum period. Again, it is our duty to instill them and to tell them that she needs to continue with her antiretroviral therapy, not only in the immediate postpartum period, but she needs to continue these drugs lifelong. हम जितना जल्दी उसको ये बात समझा देंगे, उतनी जल्दी वो ये बात mentally accept कर लेगी. The way we take blood pressure medicines, hypertension medicine, we wear specs every day. Similarly, she has to take one tablet every day and it should become a habit. And now the second most important thing is breastfeeding. An option should be given to the patient if she is ready for an exclusive breastfeeding. That means no formula feed in between, only breast milk, then she can breastfeed a baby for 6 months. But if she is working or she is not able to breastfeed, then no mixing of feed should be done. That means mixing means breast or formula feed को mix नहीं करना. Either breast milk रखना है या formula feed करना है. अगर breast milk नहीं possible है, then it is better to shift the patient to formula feed, because breast milk के breastfeeding के दौरान भी सबसे ज़्यादा vertical transmission होता है. And it is advocated only till 6 months, because if we increase the duration of breastfeeding, the transmission rate also increases. And babies are given prophylaxis, whether उनका status हमको कुछ नहीं पता है, but they are given prophylaxis. We have syrups available, and it is given according to the body weight for another 4 to 6 weeks. We should also highlight them the importance of contraception so as to prevent infection to their partner in case the partner is negative, and the dual protection is the best. That means variant plus hormonal contraception. So what I want to say is a lot of counseling is needed in these patients. We should have a very sympathetic attitude towards them, should not discriminate anything. Gone are the days when we used to get scared by the HIV patient. It's nothing more. They are just like any other antenatal patient. And most important is counseling, reassurance that there is a very good chance, more than 99.5% chance that she will have a healthy HIV negative baby. I hope I have made it all very clear. Dr. Ruby will add to it whatever I have missed. Thank you, Dr. Archana.
Thank you, Dr. Jyoti Agarwal, for this excellent recap on HIV and pregnancy. We will take the question and answers later after Dr. Ruby Bansal's presentation. So kindly put your questions in the chat box. Dr. Ruby Bansal, over to you. You are currently serving as a preventive health and senior consultant HIV at Yashoda Super Speciality Hospital in Kushambi, and you are Joint Secretary of AIDS Society of India. Over to you.
Namaskar. Thank you very much. You have beautifully summarized the last topic. I think it is much better what I did the job. So thank you very much. It was wonderful. And today's topic is again very important topic, which is a needleistic injury, which is again a very, very big fear among all healthcare workers. Because since the HIV came, although all the precautions were there. Hepatitis B is much older than the HIV. Hepatitis C is also a disease much older than HIV. But all the standard precautions, all rules and regulations got active after the HIV came, because that came with so many, a lot of fear in the mind. So, and that is still continuing. That fear is still continuing, because whenever I am taking a lot of classes for the nurses, every time when I take the class, I ask what kind of the fear you have. They don't have the, never I heard that they have a fear from the hepatitis B or they have a fear from the hepatitis C, only HIV. So let's today discuss. I will just share my screen for the presentation. I just made Dr. Although these slides were not needed, Dr. Jyoti beautifully summarized everything. So I am skipping these slides, 2 slides. Okay, so today's topic is needle-stick injury and post-exposure prophylaxis. Means, despite all the precaution, if needle-stick happens, which is a very common thing among the healthcare workers, so what we can do? Okay, so what is the occupational exposure? Everybody knows that occupational exposure is something when we got the prick during our working duties, during performance of our job duties. Whether you are, you are taking the sample, you are giving injection, you are doing surgery, or you are performing this deliveries. So that is, and the 3 most common infections, which are the blood-borne infections or the fluid-borne infection, that is the HIV, hepatitis B and hepatitis C, that occurs during the needle-stick injury or the splashes. So non-occupational, if these are happening outside the work duties. What is the post-exposure prophylaxis? Post-exposure prophylaxis means the management given to minimize the risk of infection. Infection जो कि blood-borne हुए हैं, hepatitis B, hepatitis C and HIV. So let's talk. What does it mean exposure? A percutaneous injury, that is the needle. You are performing the anything where usually it's a very common thing when the nurses or the lab technician are taking the blood samples. Very common thing when they got this prick or during the surgical procedure with the scalpel. So this is a percutaneous injury from the needle, stick or cut with a sharp instrument. Contact with the mucous membrane. Mucous membrane is, you gynecologists are, I think, handling it more often when there is a splash during the amniotic fluid is suddenly getting a splash when the child is getting during delivery, or in the surgical, during the surgery also. It can be splash on the eyes or the mouth. So other thing can be contact with the non-intact skin. Means कि like but when the exposed skin is chapped, abrated. आपके हाथ में कोई भी wound पहले से था, घर में हम लोग फीमेल हैं, घर में भी काम करती हैं या डॉक्टर्स हैं, कहीं भी काम करते हैं, सो घर में चाकू से कट गया या किसी भी चीज से कट गया, that was the already there was a wound, and when it is wound is exposed to the blood, you means you did not get the prick during work, but blood get to in your chapped skin. So this is again the transmission can occur because the wound is open. And intact skin, other duration prolonged it is means ki when during the surgery time everything is okay, you don't have any chapped skin, you don't have any abrasion in the hand, you are wearing the gloves, but the time duration of the surgery is long, and these hands should be in the your duty is like that ki your hand are in the wound, means ki in the blood or the fluid. So then also the transmission can occur subcutaneous through the subcutaneous membrane. So that is again infectious. It can transmit the infection. So now I will just talk about the risk of transmission. What is the risk of transmission? Definitely, if you will see this slide, you can see the biggest slide is like if I say you see ki how much the transmission rate in the slide. This is the red part. If you see the red part in the hepatitis B, so it is quite big. 1/3, 1 in 3 can get the hepatitis B infection during the needle-stick injury. So is it understood? And the hepatitis C, again, it is 1 into 30. So 1 in 30, like 30 people got prick, the 1 can get the hepatitis C infection. And if we come about the HIV, it is 1 in 300. If the 300 people got needle prick, so only the 1 may get HIV. So that means ki HIV transmission is the least. during the needle-stick injury. And here we can easily say hepatitis B transmission is the most common transmission during the needle-stick injury or the splashes, right? So all the body fluids which are the internal body fluid, they are potentially at risk. So most common is the blood. First is the blood. Then it comes to the all internal body fluid, which means so your any peritoneal fluid, any amniotic fluid, semen, pericardial fluid, pleural fluid, and synovial fluid, or this is what we do, the lumbar puncture cervical fluid. So it is, every fluid is infectious. They carry all these infections. Superficial fluid, which is outside the body, like fecal masses, vomiters, sweat, tears. So these and nasal secretions, they are not infected. They don't carry the HIV virus until they are contaminated with the blood. So that is very important thing. If these outside fluid also contaminated with the blood, they can transmit the infection. So HIV PEP exposure is common, but this is a slide, quite old slide. बहुत समय से ये सब बहुत ज़्यादा update नहीं हुआ है. अभी तक जो है 138 cases है, पर जो word hour record हुए हैं, करीब जो है 1300 cases record हुए हैं, तो जो कि HIV positive हुए during birth. But this is the data. I have with me approximate 8 people, 4 doctors and the 4 or 5 nurses who got this infection during their work duties, or 4 doctors. One, I have the Kashmiri doctor. She was working in the LNJP hospital, and she got prick, and after some time she came to know that person is HIV positive, and it was a deep prick, and she got positive. She is under treatment. So like this, a few doctors and a few nurses are there who got this infection with the needle stick. So we should be very, very careful. So category of exposure, all depends on the category of exposure, and all depends upon the source. Who is the source? So not all the needle carries infection, or neither the all kind of the exposure can give you the infection. So there are 3 categories: mild exposure, moderate exposure, and severe exposure. I'm not defining in details. Only thing, the mild exposure, जैसे कि मैंने पहले ही कहा था कि like अगर mucous membrane है, splashes है, उनका transmission rate कम होता है. Non-intact skin है with small volume, then transmission rate कम होगा. Moderate exposure में आपका mucous membrane आएगा, non-intact skin with large volume, means in the surgical side if you are working. Percutaneous superficial exposure with the solid needles, or this is the hollow bore. Hollow bore needles सबसे ज़्यादा खराब होती हैं, जो कि अगर आपकी जितनी ज़्यादा गेज की needle होगी, more than 18 gauge needle जितनी भी होती हैं, वो सबसे ज़्यादा severe exposure create करती है. Basically because always we know कि जो हमारी syringe होती है, उसमें एक hub होता है, जहाँ पर की needle लगती है. और आप सभी ने एक्सपीरियंस किया होगा, सभी ने देखा होगा, चाहे आप इंजेक्शन लगा रहे हैं, चाहे आप सैंपल ले रहे हैं, always that either injection, either medicine or the sample blood remains in the hub. So if this is afterward, you are getting this infection, this needle is pricking you, so sometimes that is the blood which is remains in the hub that enters into the body of the victim. So that's how this exposure happens. So why we should know this, why you all should know this? Because medical workers, definitely all healthcare workers at high risk for getting injured by the needle and other devices. We know that is basically because our working, and especially the surgeons, and more so the most common who are getting the needle stick injuries are the orthopedicians, dentists, and even the gynecologists are very, very famous for these splashes. So they got all kind of the surgery, all kind of the exposure they can get. So each needle stick injury has the potential exposure to disease for hepatitis B, C, and HIV. So NSIPP management, I will just come. It is like I have divided into the 4 parts. So 4 part is first aid. This is the first aid. I'm just performing first aid. क्या करना है एकदम needle stick injury होने के बाद. Medical attention means first aid के बाद you should meet the expert. Following up. ठीक है, अभी आपने सब कुछ कर लिया, but how to follow up in the long run, and the workplace prevention and knowledge, and क्या हमारे पास किस तरह की knowledge और किस तरह के protocols होने चाहिए कि so we can avoid these infections in future, or we should be having all the SOPs ready everywhere. So first aid, if the needle is, suppose first I used to keep the first slide always ki do not panic. So when the needle-stick injury happens, so one thing is very important: don't get panic. And important is hand over the work to the other person. Especially when you are performing the duties, you are doing delivery, so you can't stop your work. Definitely, you will complete your work, and then only you will look for your wound. If the wound is severe, so suddenly you can just hand over the work to the other person and can take care of yourself. So what you need to do: wash the hand with running water. Wherever the cut is, just put in the vertical position. If it is in the finger, so this water through the like gravitational force, it will be flow. So with the running water, that's all. Nothing to do. Just let it be for your hand for some time in the running water. Like what? Gently cleanse this side with the soap. After you have done 3-4 minutes in the running water, then you can just wash the area with the soap and water. Nothing, no disinfectant, no spirit, no side effects, nothing is important. No need, because they will create again much more injury. I have an incidence. So there was a long time in my previous hospital. I got the call at night from the surgeon that I got this needle-stick injury and the patient was HIV positive. And so I should, but they told कि मेरा phone try कर रहे हैं, but it is not available. फोन नहीं मिल रहा है. So मैंने कहा डॉक्टर साहब आपने अभी क्या किया? बोले बहुत देर से मैंने अपना जो है ना हाइपोक्लोराइड में अपना हाथ रखा हुआ है. So which is very dangerous. One should not do this thing basically because there is no role of any disinfectant. Hypochlorite, if you are putting your hand in the hypochlorite thinking that this will be over, this will create more harm to the wound side. And basically because even the hypochlorite will penetrate, it will create the irritation and the infection will go deep inside. So never ever do this thing. Never try to suck the wound. Do not squeeze the wound. Only thing, dry and cover the wound with their sterile gauze. That's all. Wash with soap and water and dry and cover with the sterile gauze. Nothing else is needed. This is the picture I have given, the putting the finger in the mouth. That is a very common reflex, which we used to do, especially in the kitchen when something from the knife, we used to put the finger. So, but during the work, absolutely not to be done. Splashes. If you have the splash, amniotic fluid got splash to your skin, to the eyes or any other fluid, just as the same procedure, wash the face, nose, mouth or the area, skin where the splash wash them well with soap and water. That's all. If the irritant, this splash went into your eyes, that also wash it with the clean water and you can put some eye drops to be removed. Sometimes if the NaCl you can put or the sterile water. That's also. And if you are wearing the contact lenses, try to remove the contact lenses. So this could not be harm to your eyes and infection should not go inside. Seek medical attention. What is the means of the medical attention? What you need to take? You have washed your hand. You have not created the panic. You have just covered your wound. Now, what is the PEP? What you need to do? So seek medical attention. You just then try to call to the expert opinion. Try to take the expert opinion of the HIV physician or maybe in the hospital who is dedicated for such. There are in the corporate hospital infection control committee and infection control nurse usually looks after this. So, and you need to take basically because it's a needle-stick, so you need to take a tetanus shot depending on your prior history. Tetanus is a vaccine which is the most abused one. I must say this is the most abused one. People used to take it weekly even. कि आज कट हुआ तो आज लगवा लिया, अगले वीक फिर कट हुआ तो फिर लगवा लिया, क्योंकि सस्ता भी है, कोई ज्यादा साइड इफेक्ट इसके नोन नहीं है और लोगों को नॉलेज भी नहीं है. But the guideline says tetanus toxoid is needed only once in 10 years. That's why it is given in the past, and in the pregnancy you are giving basically because we don't know. In the pregnancy we cannot take any kind of a risk, and in the road traffic accident, then we are not asking the history, we are giving it. But if it is taken nearby, like within the year or so, there is no need of the tetanus toxoid vaccine. But if it is not taken, so immediate give the one tetanus vaccine. Determine whether HIV exposure is possible. Only at that time we need to look for whether the exposure code. There is a big very complicated like table of this exposure, but I don't use this and there is no need. So we need to see the mild, moderate or severe exposure. And victim to be tested for hepatitis B, hepatitis C and HIV to identify the disease if it is there. If not tested in some situation where it is not tested before while performing the surgery. Although nowadays in the big hospital, we are already testing these test viral markers and only after that patient has to be taken for the surgery. But still many places these tests are not done and the patient is being taken. So in that case, one has to do these tests for the source as well as the victim. Source testing for hepatitis B, hepatitis C and HIV to see his status, and the victim to see his previous history. Basically because the victim means ki like all the healthcare professionals, they might get this infection earlier, which was unknown or which has not been taken care. So we need to identify the disease. Hepatitis B, I told this hepatitis B is the most common and the transmission rate is highest. But the good part is we have a very good vaccine. This is the only disease we have a good vaccine and which is given, which is a lifelong, which is antibodies can be the lifelong and very simple vaccine, very cheap vaccine without any side effects. So any healthcare worker should be vaccinated for hepatitis B. And I used to be assured that vaccination is the one part. But what about the immunization? Immunization means whether it has been developed the antibodies. So it's all about, we are talking about the corona. Corona में भी क्या हो रहा है कि like जिन लोगों को corona हो भी गया है और वो recover हो गए हैं तो सब में पर antibodies development नहीं हो रहा है. So that is very important. जिन लोगों में antibodies develop नहीं हुई है, उनकी chances of the reinfection will be high. Same is with the hepatitis. If you don't have the antibodies, then definitely it is a useless vaccine. It is not working. It has not worked. Very few percent, less than 1% people are there who after the vaccination did not get the antibodies developed. And maximum time the problem is people are not taking the 3 vaccine. Sometimes they are taking 1 vaccine or sometimes they are taking 2 vaccines, and the quality of the vaccine and the vaccine important is the cold chain. How they are maintaining the cold chain, the efficacy of the vaccine. That is very important. Now comes to the HIV prophylaxis. If positive source, either that the source was positive, if it is a severe injury, as I told the severe exposure code, or the unknown status. Unknown status means that suddenly the patient came to the OT, labor room, and you don't know patient kahan se aaya, kaise aaya, it was not your regular patient, and suddenly you got the prick, and you don't know what to do. एंड पेशेंट चला भी जाता है और बाद में आपने देखा है कि अगर कुछ भी प्रोसीजर के बाद तो उसका अपना टेस्ट करा सकते हैं ना कुछ करा सकते हैं. तो अननोन जहाँ पर पेशेंट होते हैं, अगर एक्सपोजर सीवियर है तो वी यूज टू गिव द प्रोफाइलेक्सिस. मेडिकल अटेंशन 3, अगेन दिस इज द डोंट पैनिक. आई ऑलरेडी टोल्ड कि ट्रांसमिशन रेट ऑफ हेपेटाइटिस बी इज द हाईएस्ट 30%, अबाउट 10 to 14% is hepatitis C and 5% is HIV. I think I am clear. If any questions in between. Hello? Hello?
We'll take the questions later. Everything is clear.
Very clear.
Okay. So please tell in between because I can't see anybody. So मुझे लग रहा है खुद से बातें कर रही हूँ.
नहीं, we are attentive.
Okay. Deciding on the PEP regimen. PEP means the post-exposure prophylaxis regimen. This is again the drug name. Course still हमें continuously नाम को याद रखना होगा तभी हम कर सकते हैं. There are 2 type of regimen. कोई voice आ रही है, किसी का शायद unmute हो गया है. There are 2 types of regimen. There is a basic regimen, 2 drug combinations. Malti? Okay, thank you. There are 2 types of the regimen. Basic regimen where we give the 2 drug combination. Means the drug name which even Dr. Jyoti has defined the 2 drugs. So 2 drug name we can give in the basic regimen. Expanded regimen means the 3 drug combination. So this is depends on the exposure. So अगर patient HIV है, asymptomatic है या उसका viral load suppressed है we know the patient status, so we can consider the mild सा कोई exposure हुआ है, like अगर nihilistic हुई है, जो generally काफी ज्यादा nihilistic hospital में होती है, glucose testing करते हुए, sugar testing करते हुए, so अगर वैसा हुआ है तो we can just give the 2 drugs. अगर जो है पेशेंट HIV पॉजिटिव है और क्लिनिकली सिम्टोमेटिक है, देन डेफिनेटली माइल्ड केसेस में 2 ड्रग कैन बी काउंट, बट मॉडरेट एंड सीवियर केसेस में वी हैव टू गिव द 3 ड्रग्स कॉम्बिनेशन. Nowadays, what is happening in the practically, people are giving the 3 drug combination basically because of the fear. There are 2 types of the people. एक तो जो जिनको बताते ही नहीं है कि कभी कोई एक्सपोजर हुआ है या सुई चुभ गई है या सो, दैट इज अलग वन कैटेगरी. बहुत एक कैटेगरी के लोग हेल्थ केयर वर्कर वो है जो कि ओवर कॉन्शियस रहते हैं. So when they got some even the mild pain, they ask for the doctor, मुझे नहीं PEP शुरू ही करना है. So in that case, we give the 3 drug combination. But what are the guidelines saying? I am just defining that slide of the guideline. So we can give mild and moderate में 2 drugs, और severe cases में all the severe cases should be 3 drug combination. So what are the drugs? Drugs are the same which we are using.
मैडम इसका फुल स्क्रीन कर लो मैडम, फुल स्क्रीन कर लो मैडम.
मैम पीईपी रेजिमेंट जो है, पहले जो रेजिमेंट चलती थी पीईपी और जो सभी जगह पे, जैसे मैडम ने भी अभी बताया था कि ज़िडोवुडीन इज फेजिंग आउट. सो अर्लियर आल्सो ज़िडोवुडीन, लेमिवुडीन और नेविरापिन has been used for the prophylaxis also, but nevirapine has shown lot of resistance. ज़िडोवुडीन was having the lot of side effect, so it is very common. It is creating the anemia. So hemoglobin is going fastly down. So that's why these drugs has been phasing out, and now the new drugs have come, which is the tenofovir, lamivudine, and efavirenz, which we are giving for the treatment as well as for the prophylaxis. So prophylaxis needs to be given for the 28 days, means 28 days to 1 month, means 4 weeks minimum. 4 weeks, single pill once a day. Important part is early. Again, hit early, hit hard. So as soon as the exposure happens, within 2 hours, if you give the prophylaxis, you take the prophylaxis, the best result. 70-72 घंटे के बाद इसका कोई फायदा नहीं है. लोग मेरे पास आते हैं 3 दिन के बाद, 4 दिन के बाद कि हुआ था, अब उनको डर लग रहा है कि किसी ने कहा कि नहीं ले लेनी चाहिए, तो बट उसके बाद कोई फायदा नहीं है, and we don't give. It is wastage of money, it is wastage of resources, and it's an unnecessary side effect of the medicine. So earliest to be given, 1 dose should be given within 2 hours, maximum within 24 or 36 hours. After that, it is not showing the results, very good results. And it has to be then next day, it should be continued every night. But I must tell here, efavirenz is showing lot of side effects, lot of side effects. It's a neuropsychotic side effects. Like very much, it is showing the giddiness, it is showing the nausea, it is मतलब इससे efavirenz works like कि आपने जो है रात में ना किसी को ये marijuana दे दिया, तो चक्कर आएगा, सुबह उठ नहीं पाएगा. And I remember that one doctor, she will end up into the hospital at the night with lot of vomiting and this giddiness with the effect of the efavirenz. So we need to see all these things. Neuropsychotic nowadays, that's why this is the national guideline. Definitely, I'm saying this is the national guideline. 2 drugs. So now even in the national guideline, we have replaced the 3rd drug with the lopinavir, ritonavir. Where you can see in the where I have mentioned in the table 3 drug. So सबसे नीचे वाली जो मेडिसिन लिखे हुए LPV/R, जो कि हमने प्रेगनेंसी में भी अभी डॉक्टर ज्योति ने आप सबको बताया लोपिनाविर रिटोनाविर के बारे में. इट इज लोपिनाविर रिटोनाविर एक ही ड्रग में है. इसको हम बूस्टेड पीआई कहते हैं. रिटोनाविर की डोजेस कम होती है जो कि उसके साथ दी जाती है. मतलब रिटोनाविर जो काम करती है उसको लोपिनाविर की एफिकेसी को बढ़ाने का काम करती है, इसलिए ये एक तरह से 4 ड्रग कहलाई जाती है. बट एक्चुअल में दिस इज द बूस्टेड वन. वो एक होता है ना कि आपने आटे में नमक डाल दिया तो वो थोड़ा सा उसका टेस्ट अच्छा हो जाएगा, तो उस टाइप का काम करती है कि वो बूस्ट करती है. सो दैट इज द 3 ड्रग रेजिमेन, आइदर lamivudine, tenofovir, efavirenz. This is the one, okay, that comes with a combination. But where we see that efavirenz may have the side effect, and especially to the nurses and to the doctors who has to work again next day. So these are creating a lot of problem. Then we are using lopinavir, ritonavir. Only problem with the lopinavir, ritonavir is that this is a big pill size. I am facing lot of difficulty. Patients complaints, मैडम गले में उतरती ही नहीं है गोली, हम कैसे खाएं? और इसकी डोजेस का प्रॉब्लम है. This to be given the 2 tablet morning and 2 tablet in the evening. So doses are there, more pill size is more. So that is the that is the only challenge with this medicine. But it is a wonderful medicine. But for the prophylaxis, government is using, and in the guidelines we are using. Now, this is the British HIV Association recommends the PEP in the 2014 first time. But it is we are using in India. At least I am using in my practice quite often. Raltegravir tablet. This is the tenofovir, M-tricytabine, least side effect medicine, and Raltegravir tablet 400 milligram twice a day. Again, Raltegravir के साथ only problem is it is a costly. I mean, it is much costlier than the lopinavir, ritonavir, and the tenofovir, lamivudine. So it is a costly tablet. But for the जो मतलब अच्छे से लेना चाहते हैं, जिनको side effect नहीं चाहिए, जिनको कोई भी problem नहीं होनी चाहिए, so this is the best combination. It is being used in India, not in the government program. You should remember, it is not a part of the government program. So NACO is not recommending this. I mean, they are accepting this guideline, but it is not available in the government ART center for the PEP use, right? But the medicine very well available in the India. So we can consider this medicine. This is also only the days are same, 28 days, 1 month therapy, and these bottles comes for the 1 month only. In case of the pregnancy, like if the victim, healthcare worker जो है वो pregnant है, definitely then डर भी ज़्यादा होता है, उसको fear भी ज़्यादा होता है, उसको जो है chances लगते हैं कि भाई मेरे को जो है कुछ और problem नहीं हो जाए. उस cases में हम Nelfinavir I just use basically because you should know the name. But this medicine Nelfinavir is not available in India. Only thing available is lopinavir, ritonavir. So we don't use efavirenz in the pregnancy because earlier efavirenz was supposed to be the teratogenic, but now it has not shown and it is very well used. It can be used in pregnancy, but only thing in the healthcare provider जहाँ पर कि उनको fear ज़्यादा होता है और ये है कि हमको जो है उसको first trimester है already vomitings or already कुछ problems हो रही हैं, so we avoid efavirenz to be used and we can give this tenofovir, lamivudine and lopinavir, ritonavir. Right? Is it clear? Can I move further? This is all about the HIV prophylaxis. Now, if we are talking about all the 3 infections, and sometimes it happens कि जो source है, he is hepatitis B positive as well as the HIV positive, because HIV के साथ hepatitis B और hepatitis C का combination काफी common आता है, especially in the drug abusers. जो लोग ड्रग लेते हैं तो वो कभी भी एक इन्फेक्शन के साथ नहीं आते हैं, ज्यादातर दे विल कैरी इधर HIV hepatitis C और HIV hepatitis B or otherwise even 3. I have the 2 patients who have the 3 infections together. So this is the thing. For the hepatitis B, I already told. The very good vaccine is available. Please make sure that everybody has taken the hepatitis B vaccine, which I am promoting in all my hospital. As I told, I am working in the preventive health department also in Max Pushpanjali Cross. Also, I was in this department here in Yashoda. Also, I am doing, and I am doing a lot of all kind of the employees health checkup also. Always the problem कि people are not even सबसे ज़्यादा खराब जो adherence है वो doctors का है. Please don't mind. But सबसे ज़्यादा doctors इस बात को adhere नहीं करते, hepatitis B vaccination नहीं लिया. आप सब I believe जो भी इस बात को सुन रहे हैं सबने hepatitis B वैक्सीन लिया होगा. अगर नहीं लिया है तो please do take, और अगर लिया है तो check your anti-HBs titer. Very important. Antibodies last long. अगर आपकी आज एंटीबॉडी जो है 100 से ऊपर आ रही है तो you can think 10-20 years unless you suffer from the any disease which is which are reducing the immunity, like suppose the kidney disease or something, HIV, then only this titers will go down, otherwise it will remain same. So everybody should be tested for the titers who has taken the vaccine. And many of times I have seen, basically because I have done this survey also, and I was supposed to publish that paper, but I could not. I left this max in between. We were just checking the titers of the people who has taken the vaccine 3 doses, and we found there were a lot of discrepancy. Lot many were not having their antibodies. So we don't know whether they were just not compliant with the vaccine, whether the vaccine efficacy was poor, or whether they have not taken the whole 3 vaccine, or what has happened. So important is immunization. You should not only vaccinate, you should be immunized properly. So it is the adequate level of serum antibody to the hepatitis HBsAg is more than 10. If you have the more than 10, of course, no worries. And now even the booster is not much required if you have the good antibodies. Especially if you have the antibodies between the 10, 20, 30, then I am personally recommending the booster dose after the 5 years to the healthcare worker, not to the general public. But if you have the antibodies titer 100 and above 100 or above 50, so there is no need of the revaccination, right? So that is a very clear message which I want to pass on about the hepatitis B. You know कि सबसे ज़्यादा transmission इसका है और सबसे ज़्यादा safe भी ये disease है. So please do take hepatitis C. And you believe me, hepatitis C does not have anything, neither vaccine nor prophylaxis. So definitely we can't say what to do with the hepatitis C. So there is nothing to do if we don't do. We cannot do. There is no immunoglobulin, there is no vaccine, there is no prophylaxis for hepatitis C. If you get exposed with hepatitis C, there is nothing. Now, this is the PEP has been taken. आपने सब कुछ follow कर लिया है. अब follow up कैसे करना है? Like report the incident. Everywhere in the corporate hospital, one should report all the linguistic injuries should be reported. And I must say, even if you are working in the nursing home, even if you are in a clinic setup, so you all are the gynecologists, and basically because you are performing all kind of even the vaccination work or the deliveries or something procedure work, so you should have some SOPs of the needle-stick injury available at your place. Report the incident is a must to know to follow up that person. That's why. What we need to do, basically, because what is happening, हमने जब victim का HIV test किया या hepatitis B test किया या hepatitis C किया, after the exposure, we just to see, we wanted to make sure the person is not having the past infection, because that test will not tell the current infection, not at all. And we know very clearly all the disease have the window period. HIV window period is 0 to 12 months. So maximum window period is 12 months, but most commonly generally 3 to 6 months में antibodies development हो जाता है if the exposure happens. But there are few cases reported where the antibodies came after the 1 year. So that's why the retesting for HIV exposure usually occurs at 6 weeks, 3, 6 and 12 months to look for HIV antibody. That should be the protocol. जिसको भी आज needle-stick injury आपने prophylaxis दे दिया, सब कुछ कर दिया, but follow up testing is 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months and 12 months. जब तक कि आपकी क्लियर नहीं हो जाए, अगर आपको उसको उस इंसिडेंट से बिल्कुल क्लीन चिट देनी है, तो you have to do this. Retesting for hepatitis C antibody usually at 6 weeks and 4 to 6 months. Hepatitis B की मैंने बात इसलिए नहीं की because हमने vaccination की बात करी है, तो यहाँ पर otherwise उसको भी इसी प्रोटोकॉल में टेस्टिंग की जाती है. Okay, so workplace prevention and knowledge. Definitely you should have a plan. I told SOPs should be there of what one should do with the needle-stick injury. Practices increase the risk of needle-stick injury. Mainly, most common cause of the needle-stick injury is recapping. Recapping means जब कि हम किसी को इंजेक्शन देकर दोबारा से उसकी पतली सी जो उसका ढक्कन होता है उसमें हम फिर से उस सुई को डालने की कोशिश करते हैं. So that is the most common time when this needle is going inside your finger, and वही सबसे खराब टाइम होता है. वो वाली जो needle है, मैंने कहा था hollow bore needle सबसे खराब needle है, सबसे ज्यादा इन्फेक्शन क्रिएट करती है, बिकॉज उसकी हब में हमेशा इन्फेक्टेड मटेरियल रह जाता है. So one should avoid the recapping. Recapping practice should be avoided. And I have seen many gynecologists who are performing the work. Not only the gynecologists, here I am talking about the gynecologists because we are talking with them, but all the healthcare workers. Recapping is a very, very common practice. Right? So that should be avoided. Transferring a body fluid between the containers. जब वो आपके ये जो syringes में जो लैब के लोग होते हैं, आपकी जो vials में उसको ट्रांसफर करते हैं ब्लड को, बॉडी फ्लूइड को, ब्लड को या बॉडी फ्लूइड को, तो वहां भी वो टाइम भी इंफेक्शन का हो सकता है कि अगर किसी से गिर गया, कुछ हो गया और कांच के साथ उसकी उंगली में वो ब्लड भी चला गया. सो दैट इज द इन्फेक्शन दैट कॉज द वेरी सीवियर इन्फेक्शन. Failing to dispose of used needle properly. So improper waste management is very, very problematic in everywhere. That's why there are a lot of protocols: black bag, blue bag, red bag, yellow bag. So there is a whatever. I mean, Delhi में अलग container, अलग color के हैं, यूपी में अलग color के हैं, हरियाणा में अलग color के हैं. So but there are containers. निडल के लिए पंक्चर रेजिस्टेंट शार्प कंटेनर्स आते हैं हर जगह और आजकल बहुत छोटे छोटे भी अवेलेबल हो गए हैं क्लिनिक पर भी रखने के लिए. सो वन शुड यूज दैट ओनली. पहले वो कटर शेडर आते थे, अब वो कटिंग वाले आने लगे हैं जिसमें कि अंदर ही आपकी निडल चली जाती है. सो दिस प्रैक्टिस वी नीड टू डू फॉर एवरी क्लिनिक, एवरी हॉस्पिटल. ओके. Washing the hand. This is the standard precaution which I am just revising. What are the standard precautions? Ensure safe working practices. And I am again telling, these standard precautions are placed since very, very long. But they all came in function only after the HIV came. And अभी आप देखिए ये सब जो है इतनी सारे जो बन गए हैं, चाहे आप JC लीजिए, चाहे आप ये NABL लीजिए, चाहे आप ये NABH लीजिए, ये सब जो है मेनली इनके प्रोटोकॉल यही है कि आप स्टैंडर्ड प्रिकॉशंस कैसे मैनेज कर रहे हैं, कैसे जो है हॉस्पिटल वर्किंग हो रहा है. सो ये सब जो है HIV के आने के बाद ही जो है ये सारी प्रैक्टिसेस और सारे कानून और सारे रूल्स बने हैं. तो वो प्रैक्टिसेस बहुत जरूरी है. हैंड वॉशिंग आफ्टर डायरेक्ट कॉन्टेक्ट. और अभी तो कोरोना ने हमें इतनी सारी प्रैक्टिसेस इसके अलावा भी सिखा दी हैं. मैं हमेशा ये कहती हूँ कि HIV ने ये सब सिखाया, फिर फ्लू आया, फ्लू ने हाथ धोने पे बहुत ज्यादा सिखाया, अब कोरोना ने फुल को कवर करना सिखा दिया है. सो दीज प्रैक्टिसेस कीप ऑन इंक्रीजिंग एज द इन्फेक्शंस आर ग्रोइंग. सो यूज वेयर द ग्लव्स once you are performing any procedure. Proper waste needle disposal and the waste disposal, and prevent the two-handed recording. You can see clearly in the picture what is the, if you need to recap, so don't do the दो हाथों से नहीं करिए. निडल उसका जो ढक्कन है उसको नीचे रखिए और उसके थ्रू जो है आप उसमें सिरिंज डालने की कोशिश करिए, या आप सिरिंज को ब्रेक कर दीजिए, मतलब मोड़ के तब उसमें डालने की कोशिश करिए. सो दैट इज द सेफ प्रैक्टिस. एंड कवर ऑल द कट्स एंड अब्रेजन्स विद अ वाटरप्रूफ ड्रेसिंग बिफोर यू कमिंग टू द वर्क. वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, क्योंकि हाथ कटना स्पेशली फॉर फीमेल्स तो हम लोगों के लिए कहीं भी कट जाता है, तो वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आप जो है अपने सारे वुंड्स को कवर करके रखें. सो क्लीनिंग जहाँ पर होती है, सो क्लीनलीनेस के लिए रबर ग्लव्स का यूज किया जाता है. सो जो भी आपके हाउसकीपिंग और वो हैं, तो दे शुड बी वेरी केयरफुल ऑफ क्लीनिंग ऑफ द इंस्ट्रूमेंट, क्लीनिंग ऑफ द सर्फेसेस. तो रबर ग्लव्स का यूज करें और प्रॉपर वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट करें. सो अवॉइड अननेसेसरी डिस्ट्रैक्शन. दैट इज अगेन very, very common. After the, I must say, after the recapping, this is the second most common cause of needle stick. Distraction, working time में. I used to tell to the nurses, जब वो करा रही होती है ना, वो पीछे से कोई दूसरी आवाज लगाएगी. जनरली केरला की नर्सेज होती है, चेची, वो पीछे से मुड़ती है एंड वो निडल उसके हाथ में. सो ये बहुत कॉमन है. नर्सेज के पास वर्कलोड ज्यादा होता है हॉस्पिटल्स में, वो डिस्ट्रैक्ट होकर काम करती हैं या किसी भी तरह से, तो उनको जो है ये इन्फेक्शन निडल स्टिक होने के चांसेस ज्यादा हो जाते हैं. अवॉइड लुकिंग अवे ऑफ द वर्किंग इन द बैड लाइट. मतलब कहीं भी लाइट नहीं प्रॉपर लिए और तब ब्लड सैंपल लेने या इंजेक्शन लेने जाती हैं, तो तब भी जो है चांसेस होते हैं. और एक कैटेगरी होती है जब पेशेंट इज वेरी पैनिकी. बहुत ही कई बार न्यूरोलॉजिकल पेशेंट होते हैं या सब कॉन्शियस पेशेंट होता है, तो वो पैनिकी हैं, वो बहुत ज्यादा हाथ हिलाते हैं, तो तब जो है निडल स्टिक इंजरी होने के चांसेस होते हैं. तो वी नीड टू बी वेरी वेरी केयरफुल ऑफ ऑल दीज फैक्टर्स. These are the universal precautions. Barrier method, washing hand, wearing gloves, wearing gowns, wearing goggles, और आजकल तो mask भी, और everything is to be done. So that is all the universal precaution. I just must add the mask here. to prevent the corona and to prevent the other infection. So that's all. That's why I put this smiley pic of the wearing the mask. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ruby Bansal, for this excellent talk. And I think one of the major take-home messages is manageable during pregnancy and after. So now, Dr. Ruby Bansal, we have a number of questions for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, ma'am. Perfect.